They said some monsters can't be saved. That once the beast takes over, the man is gone forever. I had 3 days to prove them wrong. 3 days before they'd put him down like a rabid dog. I was nobody. A village herbalist who talked to animals because people made me uncomfortable. They wanted me to walk into a mine, face a feral alpha who'd torn through chains like paper, and somehow bring him back from madness. What I didn't know, that saving him would cost me everything I thought I was. What I didn't know, that the moment I touched him, I'd become the monster instead. My shop sat at the edge of the village, where cobblestone streets gave way to dirt paths and wild grass. Close enough to be useful. Far enough that people didn't have to think about me too much. The bell above the door hadn't rung in 3 days. I didn't mind. The silence let me work. My hands moved through bundles of dried herbs hanging from the ceiling. Chamomile for sleep, feverfew for headaches, yarrow to stop bleeding. Everything labeled, everything organized. Everything under control. Except the wolfsbane. I pulled the purple-flowered stems from their jar, careful not to let the oils touch my bare skin. Poisonous to humans. Deadly to wolves. My grandmother had taught me to handle it with respect, the same way she'd taught me to read the forest's moods and understand what animals needed without them making a sound. You have a gift, Elara, she'd said, her weathered hands guiding mine. Don't let anyone make you feel strange for it. But strange was exactly what I felt. Through the window, I watched Marta cross to the other side of the street when she saw my shop. 3 children followed her lead, their mother's hand tight on their shoulders. Yesterday, old Thomas had left coins on the doorstep rather than come inside. The animal whisperer. That's what they called me. Said I could calm a bucking horse with a look, that wild dogs followed me home, that birds landed on my shoulders like I was Snow White from their children's storybooks. They weren't wrong. Animals did trust me in ways that made no sense. Last week, a wounded fox had scratched at my door, letting me clean its infected paw without a single bite. 2 months ago, a stallion everyone said was vicious had pressed his nose into my palm and gone docile as a lamb. I couldn't explain it. Didn't want to try. Explanations led to questions, and questions led to suspicion. Better to be alone than afraid. I tied the wolfsbane bundle and hung it with the others, wiping my hands on my apron. That's when I caught my reflection in the copper kettle on the shelf. The chain around my neck glinted, my grandmother's necklace, the only thing I had left of her. Of my parents. Silver and smooth, warm against my skin even in winter. She'd never taken it off, and neither did I. They'll come for you one day, Gran had whispered on her deathbed, fever making her delirious. When they need what you are, not what you pretend to be. I'd thought it was the sickness talking. Grief makes people say things that don't make sense. But sometimes, late at night, the necklace would grow hot. And I'd dream of running through forests I'd never seen, of howls that sounded like language, of amber eyes watching me from the shadows. I shook my head, pushing the thoughts away. Dreams were just dreams. The wolfsbane hung innocent and deadly above my head. I had no idea I'd need it sooner than I thought. The knock came at midnight. 3 sharp raps that jolted me from sleep, my heart hammering before I was fully awake. No one came to my door after dark. No one came to my door at all unless they were desperate. I grabbed my shawl and hurried downstairs, the floorboards cold beneath my bare feet. Through the frosted glass, I could see 3 figures. Tall. Still. Waiting with the patience of predators. My hand hesitated on the handle. Elara Voss. A woman's voice, smooth as river stones. We mean you no harm, but we need to speak with you. Now. I opened the door. The woman stood at the center, silver hair braided in a crown around her head. She wore dark traveling clothes, but there was nothing common about her. She carried authority like a cloak, her eyes sharp and black as polished obsidian. The 2 men flanking her were younger, broader, watching me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. My name is Valeria, the woman said. May we come in? It wasn't really a question. I stepped aside. They entered without a sound, moving through my small shop like wolves through a forest. One of the men paused at my herb collection, nostrils flaring. The other kept his eyes on me. Valeria settled into the chair by my workbench, as if she'd been here 100 times before. "You've been alone a long time," she said. "It wasn't a question. Your grandmother raised you. Taught you the old ways. Herbs. Animals. The language of growing things. What do you want?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. "We need your help." Valeria folded her hands in her lap. "Our alpha has gone feral." The word hung in the air. Feral. I'd heard stories, whispers of shifters who lost themselves to their animal side, who became mindless beasts ruled by instinct and rage. It was rare. Always fatal. 2 weeks ago, Thorne began to change, Valeria continued. Not the normal shift. Something darker. He attacked his own packmates. We had to chain him in the old mine before he killed someone. Before he revealed us to the human world. Why are you telling me this? But even as I asked, dread pulled in my stomach. Because you're the only one who can reach him. I almost laughed. I'm not. I'm just an herbalist. I don't know anything about shifters or... Don't lie to yourself, child. Valeria's eyes pinned me in place. You've always known you were different. The animals that follow you. The dreams that feel like memories. Your grandmother's blood runs in your veins, and her mother's before that. My hand went to the necklace, suddenly burning hot against my skin. There's a prophecy, one of the men said, his voice rough. Only one untouched by pack bonds can break feral chains. You're not pack. Never have been. But you're not fully human either. You're our last hope, Valeria said. You have 3 days. 3 days to reach him, to calm the beast, to bring our alpha back from the edge. She leaned forward. On the 3rd night, you must touch him. Skin to skin. It's the only way to break the hold ferality has on him. And if I can't? The silence stretched. Then we end him, Valeria said quietly. Before he becomes something worse. Before he brings hunters down on all of us. Why would I risk my life for a stranger? Because Valeria stood, and for the first time, something like compassion crossed her face. You've spent your whole life being strange. Being other. Being alone. We're offering you a chance to belong. To understand what you are. To save a life instead of hiding from your own. She moved to the door, the men following. Dawn, she said. We'll be waiting at the forest edge. Come or don't. But know this. If Thorne dies, his blood is on more hands than just ours. They left. I stood in my empty shop, the necklace hot enough to burn, and felt something ancient stirring in my blood. For the first time in my life, someone needed me. Not despite what I was. Because of it. I didn't sleep. How could I? By the time dawn crept through my window, I'd already dressed, packed a bag with herbs I wasn't sure would help, and braided my hair tight against my skull. My hands shook as I laced my boots. Valeria and her men waited at the forest edge, exactly as promised. She handed me a torch without a word. The flame cast orange light across her face, making her look older. Tired. He's gotten worse overnight, she said. Stay back from the chains. Don't let him corner you. And Elara. Her hand caught my wrist. If you feel true fear, the kind that says run or die, listen to it. We'd rather lose him than you. I wasn't sure I believed her. The forest path was narrow, forcing us to walk single file. Trees pressed close, their branches tangled overhead like grasping fingers. My grandmother used to say forests had memories. That old places held onto the violence done within them. I believed her now. Because somewhere ahead, something howled. The sound ripped through the morning air, raw and broken and furious. Not quite wolf. Not quite human. Something caught between, screaming its agony to the indifferent sky. My steps faltered. He knows we're coming, one of the men muttered. The howl came again. Closer. It raised every hair on my body, triggered instincts I didn't know I had. Run. Hide. Survive. But I kept walking. The mine entrance was a black mouth in the hillside, timber supports rotting with age. The howls echoed from deep within, bouncing off stone, growing louder. My torch seemed pathetically small against that darkness. We can't go further, Valeria said. The mine's been reinforced with silver. It burns us. You'll have to go alone. Of course I would. I stepped inside. The temperature dropped immediately. My breath misted. The torch flame bent and danced as if the darkness itself was trying to snuff it out. The tunnel sloped downward, deeper into the earth, the howls growing until they were all I could hear. Until they stopped. The silence was worse. The chamber opened before me, a natural cave expanded by human hands decades ago. Chains hung from bolts driven into the stone, thick as my wrist, glinting with silver. And at the center, pressed against the far wall, him. Thorne was massive. Even crouched, even hunched with his spine curved wrong, he towered. His form was caught between states, human musculature wrapped in patches of midnight black fur, hands tipped with claws that scraped against stone. His face was the worst. Almost human. Almost. Jaw too long, teeth too sharp, eyes burning amber in the torchlight. Those eyes locked onto me. The growl that rumbled from his chest vibrated through the floor, through my bones, through every part of me that screamed, "This is a predator and you are prey." He moved. Fast. Faster than anything that size should move. The chain snapped taut with a sound like thunder. He hung there, suspended by silver biting into his wrists and throat, close enough that I could see the foam at the corners of his mouth, smell the musk and sweat and wild rage pouring off him. His snarl showed every tooth. I should have run. Every survival instinct I had begged me to run. But beneath the terror, beneath the hammering of my heart, something else stirred. Recognition. Impossible and undeniable. Like seeing someone you'd been searching for your entire life, even though you'd never known they were missing. "Magnificent," I whispered. He lunged again. The chains held. I slowly, carefully lowered myself to the ground. Cross-legged. 5 feet from death. The torch planted in the dirt beside me. And I began to speak. "Hello, Thorne. My name is Elara. And whether you can understand me or not, I'm not leaving you alone in the dark." His growl never stopped. But his eyes never left mine. Hours passed in that cave. Or maybe minutes. Time moved differently in the dark, measured only by the rhythm of his pacing and the slow burn of my torch. I spoke to him the way my grandmother had taught me to speak to wounded animals. Low. Steady. No sudden movements. I told him about the village, about the herbs hanging in my shop, about the fox that had trusted me with its injury. Anything to fill the silence. Anything to prove I wasn't a threat. He circled. Prowled. Tested the length of his chains over and over, those amber eyes never leaving me. I reached into my bag and scattered dried herbs across the stone floor, valerian root and lavender, chamomile, and passion flower. The scent filled the chamber, sweet and calming. My grandmother swore these could soothe even the most troubled spirit. His nostrils flared. The growl softened to something quieter, though no less dangerous. "That's it," I murmured. "Just breathe." He dropped to all fours, muscles rippling beneath fur and skin. Still watching. Still ready to strike. But the frantic energy had dimmed slightly. I don't know what possessed me to sing. Maybe desperation. Maybe instinct. But my grandmother's lullaby rose from my throat. The one she'd hummed when nightmares woke me, when the world felt too big and I felt too strange. The melody was old. Older than her grandmother. Words in a language I didn't understand but somehow knew. Thorne's pacing slowed. His head tilted, that too long jaw parting slightly. The chains clinked as he sank lower, haunches settling against stone. His eyes half closed. For one impossible moment, he looked almost peaceful. My voice faltered. Stopped. His eyes snapped open, that brief calm shattered. The growl returned, but weaker. Tired. "Tomorrow," I whispered. "I'll come back tomorrow." I stood slowly, keeping my movement smooth. He tracked me but didn't lunge. Didn't test the chains. Just watched as I backed toward the tunnel, torch in hand. When I emerged into the dying daylight, Valeria and her men waited. Others had joined them, pack members keeping their distance, speaking in low voices that cut off when they saw me. "Well?" Valeria's expression was unreadable. "He didn't kill me." A snort from one of the younger wolves. "That's not progress. That's luck." He listened, I said, meeting their skeptical stares. For a moment, when I sang, he was calm. Almost present. Valeria studied me with those black eyes. Almost isn't enough. You have 2 days left. I knew. God, I knew. The walk back to my shop felt longer than the journey there. My legs trembled with exhaustion, adrenaline finally draining away. I'd spent hours in a cave with a feral alpha, and all I had to show for it was a few seconds of calm. Was it enough? Could I really reach him? Or was I just delaying the inevitable? The questions followed me home, heavy as stones. Sleep found me the moment my head touched the pillow. But it wasn't rest. I ran through forests thick with ancient pines, my bare feet soundless on moss and fallen needles. The moon hung full and heavy overhead, turning everything silver. I wasn't alone. Shapes moved alongside me, wolves, dozens of them, running in perfect formation. And I belonged with them. My lungs burned, but I didn't stop. Couldn't stop. The hunt sang in my veins, primal and pure. I could smell prey ahead, deer, its terror sharp and copper sweet on the wind. My mouth watered. When I looked down, my hands were gone. Replaced by paws, by fur the color of storm clouds. The pack leader howled. I threw my head back and answered, the sound ripping from my throat like it had always been there, just waiting. We brought down the deer together. I tasted hot blood and raw meat, and it was right. It was perfect. It was. I jolted awake, gasping. My room was dark. Cold. The taste of copper lingered on my tongue, though I hadn't eaten since morning. My skin felt too tight, burning from the inside out. The necklace. My grandmother's silver pendant glowed against my chest, faint but unmistakable. Warm enough to hurt. I yanked it away from my skin, watching the light pulse once, twice, then fade. What was happening to me? The dreams had always been strange, but never like this. Never so vivid I could still feel claws instead of fingers, still hear the pack's voices like language in my mind. Why do these dreams feel like memories? I whispered to the empty room. The necklace cooled against my palm. Silent. Keeping its secrets the way my grandmother had kept hers. I lay back down, but sleep wouldn't return. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw amber eyes watching from the shadows. Felt the pull of something I didn't understand. 2 more days. 2 more days to save him. But who was going to save me? I returned at dawn carrying meat. Raw venison wrapped in cloth, the blood still warm. I'd laced it with herbs, not just calming ones this time, but strengthening roots, grounding leaves. Things to anchor mind to body. If ferality was the wolf consuming the man, maybe I could help them find balance. The cave felt different. Colder. Or maybe I was just more aware of how alone I was down here, how far from help if things went wrong. Thorne crouched in the same corner, but his eyes tracked me from the moment I entered. Sharper today. More focused. The mindless rage had dulled to something watchful. Calculating. I brought you food, I said, unwrapping the meat. Real food, not whatever they've been throwing down here. I placed it just within his reach and retreated. He didn't lunge. Didn't snap at the offering. He studied it, nostrils flaring, then dragged it closer with claws that scraped against stone. He ate. Not like a beast tearing at carrion, but slower. Almost deliberate. When he finished, he turned those burning eyes back to me. I sat. Closer than yesterday. Close enough to see the silver burns on his wrists where the chains bit deep. My parents disappeared when I was 7, I said. The words came without planning, pulled from some deep place. One morning they were there. The next, gone. No goodbye. No explanation. The village constable said they'd probably run off. Started a new life somewhere else. Like I wasn't reason enough to stay. The chains clinked softly as Thorne shifted his weight. Gran never believed that story. She said they loved me too much to leave. That something took them. But she wouldn't say what. Wouldn't tell me why we had to stay hidden, why I had to pretend to be ordinary when I knew I've always known I wasn't. My voice cracked. I've been alone since she died. Completely alone. Everyone keeps their distance because I'm strange. Because animals trust me and people don't. And some days I wonder if it would have been easier if I'd just been normal. If I'd just been human. Thorne made a sound. Not a growl. Something softer. Almost pained. You understand loneliness, don't you? I looked up at him. Being trapped. Being something people fear. He moved. Not a lunge, a deliberate step forward. The chains pulled taut, but he didn't fight them. His body rippled, muscles shifting beneath fur, bones grinding as if trying to reshape themselves. His jaw clenched, veins standing out along his neck. One word forced itself through fangs and fury. Curse. I froze. What? His eyes squeezed shut, the struggle visible in every line of his body. That single word hung in the air between us, impossible and undeniable. He'd spoken. Thorne. I breathed. Was that, did you just? But the effort cost him. He collapsed forward, catching himself on hands that were more human than they'd been moments before. Panting. Shaking. The humanity slipped away again as exhaustion claimed him, but not entirely. Not like before. Something had changed. He dragged himself to the silver-lined bars that separated the chamber, close enough that only the barrier stood between us. He settled there, watching, waiting, an invitation. I moved forward on trembling legs until I sat opposite him, only inches and silver between us. This close, I could feel the heat radiating from him, could see where human skin gave way to fur, could smell. God. Pine and earth and something wild that bypassed my brain and went straight to my blood. My pulse quickened. The necklace grew warm. Curse, I repeated softly. Someone did this to you. His eyes met mine. Clear. Present. Trapped. And for the first time, I felt it. Not pity. Not fear. Connection. Valeria found me as the sun set, sitting outside the mine entrance. I couldn't bring myself to leave. Not yet. Not when Thorne had finally shown a flicker of the man trapped inside. He spoke, I said before she could ask. One word. Curse. Her expression flickered, surprise quickly masked. That's more than we've seen in weeks. What happened to him? I stood, brushing dirt from my skirts. This isn't natural ferality, is it? Someone did this. Tomorrow, Valeria said, ignoring my question. Tomorrow you must touch him. Skin to skin. It's the only way to break the hold. My stomach dropped. Touch him? He's barely controlling himself with silver bars between us. If you don't, he dies. Her voice was iron. The ferality consumes more of him every day. Soon there won't be anything left to save. The wolf will eat the man entirely, and we'll have no choice. I thought of his eyes. That moment of clarity. The word forced through fangs. Tell me about the prophecy, I demanded. Who wrote it? When? Why does it have to be me? Valeria's jaw tightened. Ancient words passed down through generations. That's all you need to know. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I'm giving you. She stepped closer, her black eyes boring into mine. You want to save him? Then trust the prophecy. Trust that you were meant for this. Or walk away now and let us do what must be done. There's something you're not telling me. The certainty settled in my bones. About him. About me. About why I'm really here. Everyone has secrets, child. Valeria turned toward the forest path. The question is whether yours will save him or doom you both. Wait. But she was already gone, melting into the shadows between the trees with the others who'd been watching from a distance. Their murmurs followed them, too low to hear but sharp with doubt. I stood alone in the gathering darkness, the mine entrance yawning behind me. From deep within came the sound of chains shifting. Restless. Waiting. Tomorrow I would have to touch him. Put my skin against his. Risk everything on a prophecy no one would fully explain. The logical part of my brain screamed that this was suicide. That feral wolves couldn't be reasoned with, couldn't be saved. That I should run back to my shop and lock the door and forget any of this happened. But the part that had tasted blood in my dreams, that felt the necklace burn hot against my skin, that recognized something in Thorne's amber eyes. That part knew I was already too far gone to turn back. I tried to sleep. I lasted an hour. The necklace burned against my skin, hot enough to leave marks. My room felt suffocating, the walls pressing in. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt him, a presence at the edge of my awareness, pulling me like the moon pulls the tide. I dressed in the dark and left my shop without thinking, without questioning. My feet knew the path. The forest was alive with night sounds. Owls calling. Small creatures rustling through undergrowth. But beneath it all, I heard something else. Felt something else. A howl split the darkness. Not rage this time. Anguish. Raw and broken and utterly alone. I ran. The mine entrance swallowed me. I'd grabbed no torch, but somehow I didn't need one. The path was familiar now, worn into my memory. And there was light ahead, faint, silvery, coming from the chamber itself. Thorne was chaos. He paced the length of his chains in violent circles, body shifting between forms so fast it looked painful. Fur rippled to skin and back again. Claws extended and retracted. His breathing came in ragged gasps, steam rising in the cold air. Thorne. My voice cracked. He spun toward me, and the world stopped. Our eyes locked. Held. The pull I'd felt all night crystallized into certainty. This wasn't chance. Wasn't coincidence. This was recognition on a level that bypassed reason entirely. My grandmother's words echoed, when they need what you are, not what you pretend to be. Who are you really? I whispered, moving closer to the silver bars. What are we? He staggered forward, fighting himself with every step. His form stabilized, more man than beast, though claws still tipped his fingers and fur still traced his spine. He dropped to his knees on his side of the barrier. We were inches apart. Close enough that I could see gold flecks in those amber eyes. Close enough to feel his breath ghost across my skin. The air between us crackled with something that had no name. His hand lifted, trembling, pressing against the silver bars despite the burn. An offering. A plea. His lips formed the word with aching clarity. Yours. The necklace flared white-hot. My blood sang. Every instinct I had screamed that this was right, this was meant, this was impossible. I stumbled backward, my own hand flying to my throat where the pendant burned like a brand. Terror and longing warred in my chest, neither winning. Tomorrow, I choked out. Tomorrow I'll. But I couldn't finish. Couldn't promise. Couldn't think past the pounding of my heart and the way my skin felt too tight and the absolute certainty that touching him would change everything. I fled. His howl followed me up the tunnel, through the forest, all the way to my door. Yours. One word that rewrote the world. Tomorrow I would touch him. Tomorrow I would learn what that word really meant. And I was terrified it would cost me everything. The third day broke wrong. Storm clouds massed over the forest, turning morning into twilight. Thunder rumbled in the distance, a warning or a promise. The air tasted like metal and rain. I stood in my shop, staring at my reflection in the window. The woman looking back was a stranger, dark circles under her eyes, hair wild despite the braid, the necklace glowing faint silver against her throat. It hadn't stopped burning since last night. My hands shook as I gathered supplies I wouldn't need. Herbs. Bandages. Anything to delay the inevitable. Because today I had to touch him. Had to press skin to skin and hope the prophecy was real, that I wouldn't die that. The necklace flared hot enough to make me gasp. Yours. His voice echoed in my memory. That single word carrying more weight than any speech. I left the shop before doubt could root me in place. The crowd at the forest edge had grown. 24 wolves in human form, maybe more, standing in tight clusters. Their conversations died when I appeared. Eyes followed me, some hopeful, most skeptical, a few openly hostile. Valeria stepped forward, her face carved from stone. Today it ends. One way or another. That's when I saw him. A man stood apart from the others, arms crossed over his chest. Tall. Handsome in a sharp, calculated way. Dark hair pulled back, jaw strong, eyes the color of slate. He watched me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. That's Kael, someone muttered. The beta. He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. So you're the human who thinks she can save our alpha, Kael said, his voice smooth. Rich. How brave. How foolish. Enough. Valeria's command cut through the murmurs. She turned to me, and for the first time, I saw fear in those black eyes. It's time, Elara. Touch him, or we end this now. No more delays. The storm rolled closer. Lightning split the sky. Every instinct screamed at me to run. To refuse. To choose survival over whatever waited in that mine. But I thought of Thorne's eyes. The word he'd forced through fangs and fury. I thought of being alone my entire life and someone finally seeing me. Finally needing me. I'm ready, I lied. Valeria nodded. Then may the old gods guide your hand. I walked into the forest. Into the storm. Into the moment that would destroy and remake me. The mine was darker than before. Or maybe my fear made it seem that way. Each step down felt like walking toward my own execution. The torch flame bent sideways, as if even fire wanted to escape what waited below. Thorne stood in the center of the chamber. Not crouched. Not prowling. Standing. Waiting. His form was more stable today, still caught between man and wolf, but present. Aware. His amber eyes tracked me with an intelligence that stole my breath. I'm here, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Like they asked. Like the prophecy demands. He didn't move. Didn't speak. But something in his gaze softened. Permission. Trust. Or maybe goodbye. I crossed the distance between us, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might break free. The silver bars had been removed. Nothing separated us now. Nothing but air and fear and 3 days of impossible connection. If this kills me, I said, I hope you remember. I hope you know someone tried. I reached out. My hand trembled in the space between us. His eyes held mine, and I saw him fighting to stay still, fighting to stay present, fighting to be the man instead of the beast. My fingers touched his chest. The world exploded. Vision slammed into me like a physical blow, images flooding my mind so fast I couldn't separate one from another. Thorne standing on a battlefield, wolves tearing at each other, blood soaking into earth. Kael beside him, fighting back to back, brothers in all but blood. Victory celebration, pack howling triumph. Kael speaking with someone in shadows, money exchanging hands. A woman with dead eyes and darker magic, chanting words that made reality bend. Kael holding Thorne down while the witch carved symbols into his skin, while the spell took root. The Nifong clan pays well, Kael's voice, cold and satisfied. And they promised me his throne. The curse wrapping around Thorne like chains, pushing his humanity down, down, down until only the beast remained. The visions should have stopped there. But they didn't. The curse recognized something in my blood. Something it had been searching for. Something it needed. No. Power surged from Thorne into me, burning through every nerve. The curse tore free from him and latched onto me with hungry, desperate force. It found the dormant shifter blood in my veins. My parents' legacy, my grandmother's secret, and it fed. No. Thorne's voice, clear and human and horrified. But it was too late. Heat exploded through my body. My bones began to crack and reshape. Fur sprouted along my arms, silver gray and soft. My nails curved into claws. My teeth sharpened. The world suddenly smelled like everything stone and water and metal and fear and thorn. God, Thorne scent overwhelming and perfect and mine. The rational part of my mind shattered. Hunger rose. Not for food. For violence. For blood. For the hunt. The feral energy that had consumed him now consumed me, amplified by magic and awakened shifter instincts that had been sleeping my entire life. I threw back my head and screamed. The sound that came out was half human, half wolf, and completely wrong. My vision swam red. My body convulsed, caught between forms, between species, between sanity and madness. The curse wrapped around my mind like smoke, whispering that I should run, should hunt, should kill. Through the chaos, I felt Thorne change. His form solidified. The beast receded. His breathing steadied. The curse had released him by claiming me instead. And I realized the horrible truth. The prophecy never said I would save him. It said I would take his place. Strong arms caught me before I hit the ground. Thorne. Fully Thorne. Human and whole and real. His face swam into focus above me. Sharp features, a scar cutting across his jaw, eyes still amber but clear. Completely, devastatingly clear. The beast was gone. The man remained. And I was becoming what he'd been. Elara. His voice broke on my name. Rough from weeks of disuse, but unmistakably human. Elara, look at me. Stay with me. I couldn't. The curse howled through my veins, demanding I run, I fight, I tear free from these gentle hands holding me down. My body writhed, caught in the agony of transformation. Bones grinding, reforming. Muscles tearing and reknitting. For spreading across my skin like wildfire. You're my mate, Thorne said, his hands framing my face, forcing me to focus on him. Do you hear me? You're mine. And I will not lose you to this. Mate. The word resonated through the chaos, striking something deep and primal. The curse recoiled slightly, confused by the recognition. But it wasn't enough. A snarl ripped from my throat. My newly formed claws slashed out, catching his shoulder. Blood welled, the scent copper-bright and intoxicating. The beast in me roared approval. Thorne didn't flinch. Didn't let go. I know what this feels like, he said, his grip steady even as I bucked against him. The wolf trying to consume everything you are. The hunger that never ends. The rage with no target. I know, Elara. And I'm telling you, you're stronger than it. I can't. The words came out mangled, half-growl. I can't. Control. You don't have to. Not yet. Just breathe. His forehead pressed against mine, his scent, pine and earth and safety, cutting through the madness. Just stay here with me. Don't let it take you completely. My vision kept shifting between human sight and something sharper, predatory. I could see heat signatures, could track movement in ways that shouldn't be possible. The world had become overwhelming, too many sounds, too many smells, everything amplified to unbearable levels. This was what he'd endured. Weeks of this. Alone. Your parents, Thorne said, his voice anchoring me. They were Silverclaw Pack. Your mother was Alpha-born. Your father her chosen mate. They fled when Kael began his rise to power, when he started eliminating threats. They died protecting the secret of what you are. The words should have meant something. Should have mattered. But the curse didn't care about my parents. It cared about blood and bone and the sweet promise of violence. I was losing. Losing myself. Losing everything. And then, shouts from the tunnel. Footsteps pounding stone. Kael's voice rang out, sharp with false alarm. The Alpha is free. He's killed the human. Seize him. Thorne's eyes met mine. In them, I saw understanding. The real battle was just beginning. Guards flooded the chamber, 6, 8, maybe more. All loyal to Kael, who stood at the entrance with victory written across his face. But Thorne was no longer the chained, mindless beast they expected. He rose to his full height, positioning himself between me and the advancing wolves. Alpha power radiated from him like heat from a forge. Even weakened from weeks of captivity, his presence filled the space. Stand down, Thorne commanded. His voice carried the weight of absolute authority. Several guards hesitated. Confused. Their Alpha was supposed to be feral. Supposed to be beyond saving. Kael's mask slipped for just a moment. Fury flashed across his features before the false concern returned. Brothers, he's tricked the human girl somehow. He's still dangerous. We must. You cursed me. Thorne's words cut like a blade. Paid a witch to bind my humanity. Allied with the Knifefang clan to take my place. The accusation hung in the air. Lies, Kael said smoothly. The ferality has damaged his mind. He doesn't know what he's saying. But I felt it. The truth burning through the connection forming between Thorne and me. A mate bond. Real and undeniable and growing stronger by the second. His thoughts brushed against mine, clearer than any spoken word. Your parents. Kael found them. 20 years ago, hiding in the human village. He killed them himself. Made it look like a hunting accident. You were the Alpha's granddaughter. A threat to his ambitions even as a child. Pain lanced through my chest. Not the curse this time. Grief. Raw and ancient and finally given a name. They hadn't abandoned me. They'd died protecting me. You were never an orphan, Thorne's voice whispered through our bond. You're pack heir. Alpha blood. That's why the curse recognized you. That's why it transferred. My world reshaped itself in an instant. Everything I'd believed about myself broken. Every lonely year, every moment of feeling strange and wrong and other, all of it made sense now. I wasn't human trying to be normal. I was wolf trying to be invisible. The curse still raged through my body, still fought for control. But beneath it, something else awakened. Something that had always been there, just waiting. Legacy. Power. Belonging. Mine. Kill them both, Kael ordered, his composure cracking. Now. The guards surged forward. Thorne shifted in one fluid motion, massive black wolf, alpha strength restored. He snarled a warning that made even trained warriors falter. And I. The curse and my awakening bloodline collided. Merged. Became something neither expected. I wasn't fighting the wolf anymore. I was becoming her. The first guard lunged. Thorne met him midair, two wolves colliding with bone-crushing force. The sound echoed through the chamber, primal and vicious. Blood sprayed across stone. 3 more rushed from the sides. My body moved before my mind could catch up. The curse that had felt like drowning now felt like power, raw and terrible, and mine. I dropped to all fours, my shift incomplete but functional. Claws extended. Instinct took over. I caught the nearest guard by the throat, my jaws closing with enough force to make him yelp. Not killing. Not yet. But the warning was clear. Easy. Thorne's voice filled my mind, steady and calm despite the chaos. Let the wolf guide you, not control you. Feel her strength. Use her instincts. But you're still in command. The bond between us hummed like a living thing. I could sense his position without looking, could feel his intentions a split second before he moved. When he dodged left, I covered right. When he struck high, I went low. We moved like we'd been fighting together for years instead of minutes. A guard broke through, heading for Thorne's exposed flank. I intercepted faster than I'd ever moved, stronger than should be possible. My claws raked across his side. He went down hard. Good. Thorne's approval flooded the bond. Trust yourself. But there were too many. Kael had planned this well. 8 guards, all trained warriors, all loyal to him through bribes or threats or promises of power. 2 circled behind us, cutting off the exit. Another 3 formed a wall between us and Kael, who watched from the tunnel entrance with cold satisfaction. Kill the alpha, Kael commanded. Subdue the girl. She's valuable alpha blood, even if she's feral. Valuable. Like I was a tool. A weapon to be controlled. Rage burned through me, sharper than the curse, hotter than the pain of transformation. This man had killed my parents. Had stolen 20 years of my life. Had cursed Thorne and tried to steal his throne. The feral haze receded slightly. Not gone, but focused. That's it, Thorne's voice carried pride. Channel it. Don't let it own you. A guard rushed me. I met him head-on, using momentum against him. He crashed into the wall. Another came from the side. I spun, claws finding flesh. Thorne took down 2 more with brutal efficiency, his alpha power fully restored. Magnificent. Deadly. Mine. The bond pulsed between us, synchronizing our movements until we fought like extensions of the same being. When he struck, I defended. When I attacked, he protected. Neither of us had to speak. We simply knew. But Kael was retreating up the tunnel, his remaining guards forming a defensive line. Enough. A voice rang out from behind them. Elder Valeria pushed through, 3 more pack members at her back. What is the meaning of this? Kael's expression shifted, surprise quickly masked. The alpha has been compromised. The human girl has bewitched him somehow. Liar. My voice. Clear and strong and carrying authority I'd never possessed before. Every eye turned to me. I stood on shaking legs, my form still half-shifted, blood on my claws. But my mind was clear. Clearer than it had been since the touch. My senses, enhanced beyond anything human, caught something the others couldn't. A scent clinging to Kael like perfume. Acrid. Wrong. Old magic and darker promises. I can smell it on you, I said, my voice carrying through the chamber. The witch's magic. It's woven into your clothes, your skin. You reek of her bargain. I know what you are. The words came from somewhere deep, somewhere that had been waiting my entire life to speak. Traitor. Murderer. You paid for Thorne's curse. You allied with the Nightfang clan. You killed my parents when I was 7 years old because they knew what you were planning. Gasps from the assembled pack. Kael laughed, sharp and dismissive. This is madness. She's a feral human who... I'm not human. I stepped forward and the remaining guards backed away. I'm Silverclaw. Daughter of Marcus and Elena. Granddaughter of Alpha Theron. The bloodline you tried to eliminate. Valeria's eyes widened. Marcus. Elena. They were exiled decades ago for discovering Kael's first betrayal, Thorne said, his human voice rough but certain. He'd shifted back, blood streaking his bare chest. They found evidence he was selling pack secrets to our enemies. Instead of facing justice, Kael framed them. Had them exiled. And when exile wasn't enough, he hunted them down, I finished. Made it look like an accident. Left me orphaned so I'd never know what I was. Never claim my birthright. The magic residue on Kael pulsed, visible to my transformed sight like dark veins beneath his skin. The witch's mark. Proof of his corruption. Look at him, I commanded, alpha authority ringing in my tone. Really look. The magic is there. The evidence of what he's done. Several pack members stepped closer, nostrils flaring. Their expressions shifted from doubt to horror. I smell it, one muttered. Dark magic, another confirmed. Old. Deliberate. Valeria moved forward, her ancient eyes seeing what younger wolves had missed. She studied Kael with the weight of decades, then turned to me. Her gaze traced my half-shifted form, the silver-gray fur, the amber beginning to bleed into my human eyes. The prophecy, she breathed. It wasn't about taming the beast. It was about awakening the alpha. The words hung in the charged air. Kael's composure finally cracked. His hand went to the blade at his hip. None of this matters. She's feral. He's weak. And I have more guards coming. No. Thorne's voice was absolute. You have nothing. Your conspiracy ends here. Kael's eyes darted between us, calculating, desperate. Then he smiled. Cold. Dangerous. If I can't have the pack, he said, neither can you. He shifted and lunged straight for my throat. Kael's wolf was massive. Dark gray, scarred from years of battle. He moved with the precision of a trained killer, jaws aimed for my exposed throat. But I was faster. The curse that had felt like chaos now sang through my veins like purpose. I twisted, his fangs grazing my shoulder instead of tearing through vital flesh. Pain flared hot and immediate. Stay focused. Thorne's voice steadied me through the bond. He's trained but predictable. Feel his patterns. Use your instincts. Kael circled, looking for another opening. His lips pulled back in a snarl that promised death. You're nothing, he growled, the words distorted but clear. An orphaned half-breed who doesn't even know how to shift properly. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was broken and incomplete and wrong. But I was also furious. He lunged again. This time I didn't dodge. I met him head-on, my smaller form using momentum against his bulk. We collided with enough force to crack stone, rolling across the chamber floor in a tangle of claws and fangs. He was stronger, more experienced. But the curse gave me something he didn't have, feral desperation paired with alpha bloodline. And I had Thorne guiding me through every move. His left side, old injury, compensates right. Thorne's awareness fed directly into mine. I went left. Kael's defense was a fraction too slow. My claws found the weak point, tearing through muscle. His howl of pain echoed through the mine. The other wolves watched, none intervening. This was alpha challenge now. Ancient law. Sacred and binding. Kael recovered fast, using his weight to pin me against the wall. His jaws closed around my foreleg, bone creaked under pressure. The pain was blinding. But through the bond, I felt Thorne's absolute faith in me. His certainty that I was strong enough. Worthy enough. You are alpha. His voice wrapped around me like armor. Show him. Something shifted inside me. The curse and my birthright merged completely, no longer fighting each other, but working together. Wolf and woman. Feral power and alpha command. I twisted in his grip, impossible angle, claws finding his throat. We froze. One slash. That's all it would take. His life ending beneath my hand. Your curse ends here, I growled, the words half human, half wolf, carrying the weight of 20 years of stolen life. Kael's eyes widened. Not with fear. With understanding. He'd lost. I threw him backward, releasing the killing hold but making my dominance clear. He hit the ground hard, scrambling to his feet, blood dripping from the wound at his throat. The pack closed in around him. No longer his allies. Now his judges. Thorne shifted back to human form and stood beside me. My own shift was smoother this time, painful still, but controlled. We faced Kael together, alpha pair united. Above, through cracks in the mine's ceiling, the storm broke. Moonlight spilled through, silver and pure, illuminating two wolves standing victorious. The pack recognizes its true alphas, Valeria's voice rang with finality. Thorne, son of Magnus. And Elara, daughter of Marcus. Blood and bond both. Kael snarled, but 3 wolves pinned him before he could move. Exile, Thorne said. Strip him of rank. Of name. Of pack. The cruelest punishment for a wolf. To be nothing. To belong nowhere. Kael's howl was broken and defeated. Justice, finally, had teeth. The healer arrived within the hour. An ancient wolf named Sienna, with silver streaking her dark hair and hands that had mended centuries of wounds. She knelt beside me where I'd collapsed against the chamber wall, my body still trembling from the fight, from the transformation, from everything. The curse is tangled with her awakening, Sienna said, her fingers hovering over my chest where the magic pulsed beneath skin. Separating them will be complicated. Can you do it? Thorne's hand found mine, his grip anchoring me to reality. The question isn't whether I can. Sienna's eyes met mine. It's whether she wants me to. I blinked through the haze. What? The curse brought ferality, yes. Madness. Loss of control. She traced a symbol in the air above me, and I felt the magic respond, writhing. But it also awakened your wolf. Your birthright. The two are woven together now. To remove one might mean losing both. Cold swept through me. I'd be human again. Perhaps. Or perhaps you'd simply be dormant once more. Asleep to what you truly are. Sienna sat back. You have to choose, child. The curse or the wolf. I cannot promise you can keep one without the other. The chamber fell silent. A week ago, the choice would have been simple. Be human. Be normal. Be safe. But that girl had died the moment she touched a feral alpha and felt recognition sing through her blood. The curse tried to consume me, I said slowly, feeling the truth settle. But the wolf? She was always there. Always mine. Always me. Thorne's hand tightened on mine. Through the bond, I felt his understanding. His support. Whatever I chose, he would accept. I don't want the curse, I said clearly. But I won't reject what I am. Not anymore. The wolf is part of me. The feral madness isn't. Sienna smiled. Then hold on. This will hurt. She pressed her palm to my chest and began to chant. Magic flooded through me, hers and mine, fighting and separating. The curse screamed, desperate to maintain its hold. It had fed on my awakening, grown strong on my birthright. But it wasn't mine. Never had been. Thorne's presence filled the bond, his strength supporting mine. I've got you, he whispered. You're not alone. The curse fought. Clawed. Tried to dig deeper. I pushed back. With Thorne's steadiness anchoring me, with Sienna's skill guiding the magic, I separated what was forced from what was true. The ferality, the mindless rage, the consuming hunger, peeled away like dead skin. And beneath it, the wolf remained. Strong. Powerful. Controlled. Mine. The curse shattered. I gasped as the darkness lifted, vision clearing, thoughts sharpening. The feral haze was gone. But when I flexed my hands, claws extended smoothly. When I reached for the shift, it came easily, naturally, like breathing. This is who I was meant to be, I whispered. Sienna nodded, exhaustion lining her face. Welcome home, Alpha. For the first time in my life, I was completely, wholly myself. And it was perfect. 3 days later, the pack gathered under a moon so full it turned the forest silver. I stood at the center of the clearing, wearing clothes Valeria had brought. Simple but fitted, deep forest green that made my eyes look more wolf than human. The necklace rested against my collarbone, no longer burning, just warm, constant. A reminder of what I'd always been. The entire Silverclaw Pack had come. Nearly 60 wolves in human form, forming a circle around Thorne and me. Some I recognized from the mine. Others were strangers who'd traveled from distant territories to witness this. To witness me. Valeria stepped forward, carrying a ceremonial bowl carved from ancient wood. 23 years ago, Marcus and Elena fled this pack to protect their daughter. We believed the child lost. We were wrong. She dipped her fingers in the bowl, ash mixed with sacred herbs, and marked my forehead with a symbol I somehow recognized. Legacy. Bloodline. Home. Elara, daughter of Marcus, granddaughter of Thorne, we acknowledge what was stolen and now reclaimed. You are Silverclaw. You are Alphaborn. You are ours. The pack howled. The sound raised every hair on my body, not in fear, but in recognition. This was my family. My people. The belonging I'd searched for without knowing I was searching. Tears tracked down my face. I didn't bother hiding them. Thorne moved to my side, solid and real. He'd recovered quickly, his alpha strength returning with each passing day. The scars from the silver chains were already fading. Kael has been exiled beyond our borders, he announced, his voice carrying to every corner of the clearing. His conspiracy dies with his banishment. Those who followed him out of fear have been shown mercy. Those who followed him out of greed, his eyes hardened, have been shown the border. A few wolves shifted uncomfortably, but most nodded approval. Justice tempered with wisdom. And Elara? An older wolf called out. She was raised human. How can she lead? Thorne's hand found mine. She saved my life at the cost of her own humanity. She faced a curse that broke my mind and emerged stronger. She defeated our greatest traitor in single combat. He looked at me, amber eyes warm. She's earned her place 10 times over. But more than that, Valeria added quietly, she chose us. When she could have rejected the wolf, could have returned to her human life, she chose to stay. Chose to be what she was always meant to be. After the ceremony, Thorne led me through winding forest paths to a cabin built into the hillside. Larger than my shop, but still intimate. Warm light glowed through windows. Our home, he said, opening the door. If you want it. I stepped inside. Comfortable furniture. A stone fireplace. Books lining shelves. Everything a home should be. I've been alone my whole life, I said softly. I'm not sure I know how to share space. His arms wrapped around me from behind, chin resting on my shoulder. We'll figure it out. Together. Together. The words settled into my bones like truth. For the first time, I wasn't alone. That night, Thorne took me to a cliff overlooking the territory. The view stole my breath. Miles of forest stretched below, silver touched under moonlight. I could see farther now with wolf vision, every tree distinct, every shadow alive with movement. Our land. Our pack. Our responsibility. I used to come here when things felt too heavy, Thorne said, settling beside me on the smooth stone. When being alpha meant making choices no one else wanted to make. Does it get easier? I asked. No. His honesty was refreshing. But it gets less lonely when you have someone who understands. We sat in comfortable silence, shoulders touching. The mate bond hummed between us, quieter now, no longer screaming urgency, but present. Always present. I thought I was saving a monster, I finally said. Thought if I could just reach you, prove everyone wrong, maybe I'd finally matter to someone. And now? Now I know I was finding myself. I turned to face him. You didn't need taming, Thorne. You needed freeing. We both did. His hand lifted, fingers tracing the line of my jaw with aching gentleness. You're the bravest person I've ever met. You walked into darkness for a stranger. You faced a curse that should have destroyed you. You claimed a birthright you didn't even know existed. I was terrified every second. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. His thumb brushed across my lower lip. It's doing what needs to be done despite it. The mate bond flared warm, urging us closer. But this wasn't the frantic, desperate pull from before. This was choice. Deliberate and real. The prophecy said I'd break feral chains, I whispered. It didn't mention I'd lose my heart in the process. Did you? His voice was rough. Lose your heart? Completely. I smiled. To an alpha who speaks in my mind and thinks I'm brave when I'm barely holding together. You're everything, he said simply. Everything I didn't know I needed. He kissed me. Soft at first. Questioning. When I leaned into him, his arms wrapped around my waist, pulling me closer. The kiss deepened, not desperate, not frantic, but full of promise. Of forever. Of mate bonds that not even dark magic could break. The forest sang around us. Night birds called. Wind whispered through ancient pines. And beneath it all, the steady rhythm of two hearts beating in sync. When we finally pulled apart, his forehead rested against mine. I love you, he breathed. My mate. My alpha. My salvation. I love you too. The words felt new and ancient all at once. My monster. My alpha. My home. The moon rose higher, bathing us in silver light. Perfect. Right. Exactly where we were meant to be. For the first time in either of our lives, we weren't broken or cursed or alone. We were whole. Dawn broke over the territory with deceptive peace. We were in the alpha quarters, sharing breakfast, when the messenger arrived. A young wolf, breathless from running, eyes wide with urgency. Alphas, he panted. Border Patrol found this. He held out a carved wooden token, Night Fong clan markings burned into the surface. A declaration of intent. A promise of war. Thorne's jaw tightened. Where? Northern border. 3 locations. All placed within the last 12 hours. I took the token, turning it over. My enhanced senses caught something else, that same acrid scent from Kael. Witch magic. Old and dark and patient. She's still out there, I said quietly. The witch Kael hired. Her bargain wasn't completed when we exiled him. Unpaid magic always collects its debt, Thorne agreed, his expression grim. And the Nightfang clan won't ignore that Kael failed. They invested too much in his coup. The messenger shifted nervously. There's more. Scouts report movement along their border. They're mobilizing forces. Not a raid. Something larger. Thorne moved to the map spread across the table, our territory marked in green, Nightfang lands in red to the north. The distance between borders had always been buffer enough. A tenuous peace maintained through mutual avoidance. That peace was ending. They think we're weak, I said, studying the map. New alphas. A pack divided by Kael's conspiracy. They're testing us. Then we show them exactly how wrong they are. Thorne's hand covered mine on the map. Through the bond, I felt his determination. His readiness. We're stronger now than we've ever been. Together. I asked, though I already knew the answer. His eyes met mine, amber meeting amber, alpha meeting alpha, mate meeting mate. Always. The messenger departed with orders to double patrols and recall distant pack members. War was coming. The witch's magic still hung over us like a blade. Kael's allies within the Nightfang clan wouldn't rest until they'd avenged his failure. But standing there with Thorne's hand in mine, the mate bond strong and certain, I wasn't afraid. We'd survived curses and betrayal. We'd found each other in darkness and emerged stronger. Whatever came next, we'd face it together. The way alpha should. The way mates must. They say touching a feral alpha is death. But what they don't tell you. Sometimes death is just transformation. I went into that mine to save a monster. I left as something more powerful than I'd ever imagined. Alpha-born. Mate claimed. Finally, completely myself. And with a mate bond that not even dark magic could break. The Nightfang clan thinks we're vulnerable now. They think new alphas mean easy targets. They think Kael's failure left us weakened. They have no idea what we've become. Let them come. Want to know what happens when the Nightfang clan attacks? When the witch returns to collect her debt. Let me know in the comments if you want part 2 of Elara and Thorne's story. Because this is only the beginning.